Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for being with us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from the KXAN Live studio on this very hot and muggy warm day in downtown Austin. As we show you this look from downtown Austin, we want to get you caught up on a big developing story that happened this week. We now know when the impeachment trial against suspended Attorney General Ken Paxton will happen. The date has officially been set. We now know that. And if you take a look right here, this is the date. September 5th is when Attorney General Ken Paxton will appear before the Texas Senate to stand trial on impeachment on 20 different articles. And we're going to get into that now and remind you about what all has been involved to get us to this point. So joining us here this afternoon is Monica Madden, our Capitol correspondent. And Monica, you have been tracking all this from the very beginning. Bless you, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Will.
It is a lot to go through, and you, again, have been following this since the very beginning. So just remind us, and everybody who's watching at home, what led to this point where ultimately Attorney General Ken Paxton got impeached by the Texas House of Representatives?
I'm so glad you asked that, Will, because one of the number one questions I hear from viewers at home, people on social media is, well, these allegations have been around for a while, so why now? For those of you who have followed the career of Attorney General Ken Paxton, right after he was first elected for his first term, back in 2015, 2016, when the term started, he started having some of these allegations come up, related to securities fraud. He has been under federal indictment since pretty much the beginning of his first term in office, and since then has faced many allegations throughout his time in office. Bribery, misuse of powers in his office, even an alleged affair. So a lot of different accusations against the suspended Attorney General. But what changed this time and how we got here now was due to a whistleblower lawsuit that he was involved in. Some former top aides within the Office of Attorney General, very conservative top lawyers in this office, eventually blew the whistle on Paxton for some of the allegations around bribery and abuse of his power. And after they, blew the whistle, which you should be entitled to whistleblower law protections here in Texas, they got fired. Now, Paxton, denies wrongdoing for that, as he does for all of these other allegations, but they ended up taking it to court. They sued the Attorney General, and that's been playing out over the last couple years. And they reached a settlement at the beginning of this year, and the Attorney General asked the Texas legislature, with that massive budget we had, budget surplus this session, if lawmakers would foot the bill, and that would be taxpayer dollars paying for that $3.3 million settlement. Well, that gave the powerful House General Investigating Committee a real reason to look into Paxton and say, okay, if you want us to foot the bill, if you want taxpayers to foot the bill, then you have to come here and tell us why. He declined to come to, the House and talk about this lawsuit settlement at the beginning of the session, and the House General Investigating Committee started looking into him. And as we've heard from a lot of them and attorneys on the prosecution side, they say that there's a lot more that they found out, and it's, a quote we've heard a lot is 10 times worse than the public knows. So a lot of details, but that's really how we got to where we are today. And then, of course, eventually at the end of May, the House did adopt the articles of impeachment and overwhelmingly voted to impeach the Attorney General, then suspended, and now we have an interim.
Yeah, and that vote in the House was about 121 to 23, so a wide bipartisan vote there in support of impeaching him in the House. Now we go over to the Senate, and about Memorial Day, I believe it was, the very last day of session, the Senate set out these 7 members to kind of work on rules about how it will become a court, in effect, to try this particular case and ultimately render a verdict of acquittal or conviction for Ken Paxton. We now know what those rules include. That all was decided pretty late last night, right, Monica?
Yeah, and for the past 2 days, they had set this deadline of June 20th for voting on those rules, and the Senate would gavel in quickly and then say, hey, we're going to recess, and they are allowed to do this in behind closed doors due to a procedural rule that they approved. So a lot of these discussions were happening in private. People had some criticism about that, but I think it was honestly from sources I've talked to for good reason, because this is complicated. You've got His wife is a state senator. Paxton has been in the Texas political scene for a long time. He has a lot of allies and a lot of enemies. So I think the Senate felt a lot of pressure to get these rules exactly right, figuring they had one shot at doing this and, really wanting to strike a different tone than what we saw in the impeachment of former President Donald Trump at the national level. Of course, that was something where, senators and House members were out in the public talking to reporters saying, I'm going to vote this way, I'm going to do this, before it even started. So I think it was very significant that they did this process the way it is before actually releasing the rules publicly to everyone.
I was just going to show off. This is a full printout version, and Monica has been reading through hers as well. Both of us looked through this, and it's multiple dozens of pages long. It's how many rules in total? It's 31 rules in total for these proceedings to go through. And I think that a lot of people were wondering, when the Senate convenes this trial, this impeachment trial, what would the role of State Senator Angela Paxton play? Because she is the wife of the man who is standing trial there. And the very last rule in this stack of rules they published yesterday is addressed specifically to her. What did ultimately the senators reach about her involvement in it?
Well, it's interesting, Will. I mean, as soon as I got my hands on this copy online, I did Control F search trying to find a recuse or recusal, and that didn't come up. So it doesn't explicitly say that Senator Angela Paxton has to recuse herself. What it does say is she cannot vote yes and she cannot vote no. And throughout the trial proceeding, she can't ask witnesses questions. She can't really participate too much. So her hands are going to be tied in terms of, how much influence she has and actually the ability to vote yes or no on some of these articles of impeachment. But I do want to point out, Will, she's still on the court of impeachment. They didn't completely recuse her. She is still a member of the court of impeachment, so she's going to have to sit through all of this, hear about all the allegations against her husband, be there, part of the process, and, we'll get into the communication rules for all of the jurors, the senators, but, she is able to talk to them about this when they're not, actively doing a session. She can't talk to anyone else, which we'll explain later, but so it's going to be really interesting to see how exactly that plays out and if she ends up having influence in this process. But I think a lot of people who were concerned about the conflict of interest were happy to hear that she's not going to be able to have a yes vote. But in that same sense, Will, it doesn't change the tally. You need, unlike the House, which just required a simple majority of lawmakers to impeach, in the Senate, they need, according to the Texas Constitution, 2/3 of the Senate members. We have 31 senators. You do the math, that's 21. And because she's still on the court, that doesn't change the number of how many votes we need to impeach.
And as, of course, that trial is set to begin September 5th, we'll have to see how ultimately that plays out with her presence there, because she has indicated that she will take part and be there for the trial. Last night, when the Texas Senate officially finalized its rules and voted on this, you gathered some reaction, or at least saw some reaction from the other members regarding her. Talk about that, what you saw. What was the tone in the room?
Oh, gosh. It was so... It first started with everyone, when the senators all reconvened around like 7:15, people were pretty jovial. And I think it's because we had, like I mentioned before, that delay of, all right, gavel in, gavel out, recess, onward, repeat for 2 days. And so I think people were ready to finally be done with this, one. But two, once they actually started the process of discussing that they were going to be taking this vote, the tone totally changed. It got really solemn. There was definitely a gravity and a level of seriousness that you could feel in that room. And as you can see here, this is members of the Senate who went up to Senator Angela Paxton after I took this video and were giving her hugs. And it was kind of a moment of humanity. You have to think that these are colleagues, and, despite what we see on television often of the partisanship between lawmakers, they work closely together all the time. So they have relationships with one another that you can't ignore. And as we pointed out, one of the allegations is of her husband cheating on her. That's some very personal information. So it was interesting to watch that happen and kind of see that humanity. Other people are going to argue that is a conflict of interest for all of the senators involved, but take what you will with that video and that moment of what I thought was a little bit of humanity.
Okay, so we focused on a conflict rule that was laid out in these rules set out by the Senate last night. I do want to ask you about some of their reaction and that's coming in now. So we have obviously put our feelers out to everyone involved with this to see who can weigh in on what and how this all ultimately shook out in the rules. But we are getting some information now from the chairman of the House General Investigating Committee, who is also the chair of the House Impeachment Managers, that particular group, Representative Andrew Murr. Monica, what did he have to say? I will pull up that statement here in full.
He was pretty pleased with the overall rules. He said the rules adoption process demonstrated that the Texas Senate respects the seriousness of this matter and the importance of a fair impeachment trial. So he's pretty supportive of it. Earlier today, we also heard from the prosecutors who will be laying out the case on behalf of Murr and the entire House Board of Impeachment Managers. That's, Houston area attorneys Rusty Hardin and Dick DeGuerin. They said, the rules the Senate has propounded for the impeachment trial of Attorney General Ken Paxton provide a fair trial for both sides. We thank the Senate for their diligence and hard work, and we look forward to presenting our case. So that was from basically the prosecution side. I went ahead and just reached out to the governor's office for comment. Haven't heard back yet. Also reached out to Tony Busby, another Houston area attorney who is going to be defending Attorney General Paxton in the case. I have not heard from either the governor's office or Tony Busby on what they think of the rules so far.
But yes, we have reached out, so just want to clear that up for everybody out there who might be watching. We are trying to get all that reaction, but it may be difficult to get people to talk because in these rules that we showed you just a few minutes ago, there is a gag order in place.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't hear any of the senators comment on pretty much majority of the rules last night. In fact, it took a while for them to actually publish that PDF of the rules for us to read it all out and figure out what the details were. But Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick did talk about one rule, and I think it was significant, back to that point of wanting to show a difference of how serious they're taking this. It was related to a bit of a gag order for all of the senators as they are acting as jurors on this trial. Same with staffers. Pretty much anyone involved in this process is not going to be able to talk about it to the media, to the public, to their constituents. I mean, we saw right when this all first started developing, senators putting similar statements out saying, hey, I know you all have questions, I can't talk about it. And that's something we're going to be seeing throughout this trial.
It certainly makes our job much more difficult, but it does underscore how seriously they are going to take this particular proceeding when it begins in September.
Exactly, Will.
Yeah. And another rule that we wanted to point out was, what role will the media play? How much access will we be able to get to be able to share with everybody at home? Plus, those who would want to maybe attend the trial itself, could they get in? Would there be a crowd allowed in to come and watch the proceedings as they unfold? We have some more detail about that too.
Yeah, some members of the media kind of, I don't want to say complained, but in the House we are able to be on the floor, and there are some benefits to that. You can pull aside a House lawmaker and get some context on a bill and chat with them more casually. It's easier to know how things are developing and everything. And I think they wanted to avoid that on the Senate. They wanted to avoid maybe senators feeling tempted to come talk to reporters about what's going on and trying to get scoops and whatnot. So I can understand where they're coming from. And also worth noting, the Senate has not allowed reporters on the gallery since the COVID era, so the last two sessions. So we will be allowed in the gallery, as will you, the public. They'll have a rotating process for when members of the public can go in and watch the trials as they're happening. But there will be two pool cameras for the members of the media who will be feeding it out to stations across Texas, and I'm sure probably some national media who are interested in covering this as well. So we will have access, and then also to the Texas Senate will be streaming all of the impeachment proceedings live on its website, as they do for pretty much any action that's going on the Senate floor. And Will, as you pointed out, our viewers are probably wondering if we're going to be streaming it online, and I think you have an idea for that, right?
I'm pretty certain. We have not finalized all of our preparations here at KXAN's sake, but I can say that we will be putting this all out publicly for everybody to watch, so you don't have to go to the Texas Senate's specific website to open up a live stream like how we watch a lot of the proceedings go. We're going to try to make it as easy as possible because this is history. This is the first Attorney General in Texas history to stand trial for impeachment, and only the third official in state history to get impeached. And So this is a big deal, and we will be putting it out there, making it as transparent as possible, and providing, of course, all the context and depth that you all expect from us. Just know that from the get-go. We are still, again, planning all that underway right now.
Yeah, we're still even processing all of these rules.
I know. So Monica Both and I have been reading through this. I mean, it is a very lengthy document, and a lot of it is in legalese. But what we can say is that, this particular impeachment trial is a political proceeding. It is not a criminal one. There are not any kinds of indictments or anything like that associated with this, as there would be in a criminal trial. So we just want to specify that too. But what this document lays out pretty clearly is that they want the Senate to mirror what you would see in a regular courtroom, just down the street in downtown Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really interesting going through and reading this stuff. It talked about witnesses that will be allowed and how they have to have, in advance of the trial starting, a witness list of sworn witnesses, and they will be under oath when the trial starts. They are allowed to be cross-examined from defense side, prosecution. So a lot of the things, even I was surprised by this detail. The sergeant at arms, who normally opens the door to the gallery, or not to the gallery, but to the Senate floor rather, the sergeant at arms will serve as a bailiff. So a lot of specifics in here that really do mirror what we see in the legal U.S. and state court system. But as can't emphasize enough, senators are not voting on actual criminal charges. Although he does have that federal indictment, this is completely separate.
Right.
This is a political process in the sense that they are determining fitness for office. They are determining if any of these articles warrant his removal from office.
And we should say that the rules specify, too, at a certain point, that when it comes to the conclusion of this trial, once all the opening statements, cross-examination, closing arguments are made, each of the senators is going to vote individually on these 20 different articles of impeachment. So they're going to go through all 20 of them, and the senators will have to vote individually on those. And we're still kind of going through the rules and seeing what kind of the legal breakdown of this is. We still need to reach out to some legal experts about how that will ultimately end up. But Monica, you were saying that it requires 2/3 of the body itself to maybe agree up to some of these, right?
Yeah, that's right. Unlike the House, which just required a simple majority, they will need 2/3 of the senators. Again, with Senator Paxton, even though she can't vote yes or no, she's still on the court. So 21 votes to impeach, and they can vote on the individual articles of impeachment. The House members did not have that option, and that's actually why we heard some members voting no altogether, is because they might have agreed with some articles, but others they didn't feel fully confident in doing that. So, and again, to remind folks, the House really kind of worked as a grand jury almost in this process, and the Senate is, going to be the jurors and actually deciding whether to convict or acquit. We've heard a lot of conversations. Definitely want to point out too from Paxton's defense, saying that how the House did this process was unfair, and prosecutors say, on the other hand, that similar to a grand jury, they're just deciding if there was, enough reason to believe that wrongdoing happened to then send it to a trial to fully decide whether or not to convict or acquit.
We want to revisit also what happened last night. Once this package of rules was ultimately approved, not every senator agreed to these. What were some of the comments about why they opposed what was ultimately laid out?
3 senators voted no. That was Senator Bob Hall, Senator Sarah Eckhart of Austin, and then Senator Angela Paxton. We got comment from Senator Sarah Eckhart about why she voted no. Senators often have the ability to submit a document stating why they voted no, and they're actually going to have that ability for these impeachment articles to submit a statement of why they voted yes or no. And she basically, in essence, expressed concern that some of the rules in here give the lieutenant governor, who presides over the Senate, too much power, too much flexibility. Certain things, like there is a rule where they can amend the rules, they can suspend the rules and then make changes to these rules with a 2/3 vote of the Senate. So Senator Eckhart expressed some concern about things like that. And, I also do want to point out, while we're on that note, at some point, if you see someone other than the lieutenant governor kind of presiding over this trial, there's a rule about that. And I think, probably wanted to give themselves some flexibility in case of sickness or a family emergency, that they are able to go ahead and have someone fill in that spot. And I think that's why we have some of those flexibilities. But then, again, as we heard from Senator Eckhart, she thought that it might be too much power.
And perhaps that's why it took so long for them to finalize these rules. Maybe they were coming up with other things they needed to address when they laid these out in full and ultimately voted on them.
Right. Now, lots of negotiations. I mean, this is, you can take a look for yourself. We'll certainly have it linked on our website for different stories related to this, and we'll have the full rules for y'all at home to read if you want to do that. But it's dense. This is complicated. I'm not typically a court reporter. I'm a politics reporter, so this is kind of new territory for me as well, and it's just really interesting to read all of this, and just very, as you pointed out, it's historic, and it's really astonishing how we even got here in the first place.
Yeah, because this has only happened 3 times in our state's history, and it's still unfolding at this point.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Capitol correspondent Monica Madden, thank you so much for not only staying up late many nights this week, I should point out, but for coming in and talking about this, because there's a lot to break down, and we appreciate at least this context. Of course, more coverage is available at our website, kxan.com. But Monica, thank you again so much.
Thanks for having me, Will.
All right, everybody. I'm going to kick you over to our website, kxan.com, as well as the KXAN News mobile app, because we will have much more in-depth coverage available for you about how we got here up to this point, detailed information about all 20 of those articles of impeachment, plus the rules that have now been laid out by the Senate. And I'll point out one more time again that the Senate impeachment trial of suspended Attorney General Ken Paxton is happening on September 5th, starting at 9 a.m. And of course, you can keep it right here because we'll be following it all along the way. Once again, I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio. Thank you all again for watching. We will see you back here at another time, as I'm sure we have much more to cover from here. We appreciate it. See you all later. Take care.